Now, that shall speaking of adorable little kids, that'll segue into the next thing. I liked that earlier you mentioned that you were thinking about bringing back the tinfoil hats because
Oh yeah.
that's gonna go real well. But this is a conspiracy theory that I've had, that I've developed and curated, that I've had going for the last couple years, and I've kind of hit a wall, but that wall just leads to more intrigue and mystery.
As it should.
Yeah. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. Two things. One, this is all very, very allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And two, I am not saying anything negative about this particular organization. I think this is actually a very nice organization, and they do a lot of good, as far as I know. You know, there's always some hidden bullshit that maybe one does not know. But as far as I know, until it's been pointed out otherwise, this is a wholesome organization.
Okay.
All right, so putting those two things out there, but let's put on our hats.
Do you do you want to close the door behind you before?
Yeah, yeah, I probably should do that. Hold on. Oh.
I
The,
legitimately just interrupted just so I could play the Cameron Mitchell clip again.
no, I was just about to say it because I remembered our last conversation. As I was walking away, I'm like, I bet he's so happy he didn't get rid of it off the soundboard yet. Like, I knew exactly what was going. Um, but okay, conspiracy time.
Let's roll.
Gabe, are you familiar with the commercials of a organization known as let me make sure it's yeah, okay. I wanted, because there's two main organizations that kind of do the same thing. I just wanted to make sure I'm getting the right one. Um the Shriners Children Hospital commercials.
Now, why did I know you were going to say that? Now, I'm going to preface anything I say after this. I, st- I started doing a long play of Deus Ex on stream because it's my favorite game of all time. Someone asked about the conspiracy theories in it, and wanted to know if I thought any of them were true, and I was like, well, yeah, a lot of them. If you just look at what the fuck is going on around you right now, it is pretty clear that some of that shit is true, especially corporate tax and all of that stuff. I have a very open mind on this, and how I knew you were going to bring that up, I don't know. I think the tinfoil was on too tight. Let's go. I'm all for
Well,
it.
I think the other big one is St. Jude, but I believe that this is Shriners. I'm like 99.9% sure it's Shriners. Now, as far as I can remember, like as long as I can remember, I should say, like as a kid and everything, the Shriners commercials have come on, and they've had a particular kid kind of as the mascot, the spokesman of the commercials, and it was this kid named, what was it? His kid's name is Alec.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and he's been in a wheelchair, I believe. I believe he's in a wheelchair. Um, but you know, he's an adorable um kid that has issues, but a very adorable, and like I said, not talking shit about him. Not in no way at all. But obviously, you have to, even at some small degree, understand that the corporate head, the corporate part of Shriners is just like, that kid's fucking adorable. Put him in front of the camera. You know what I mean? I'm not saying to a nefarious level, but you know that meeting was had in some capacity.
It's like the ASPCA commercials where it's like, get the saddest fucking dog that you can
Yeah,
find because we're gonna
exactly.
hook you in immediately to go ahead and play against your heartstrings.
Get that
Yes.
Sarah McLachlan music playing.
Fuck.
um,
Yes.
exactly. There's a reason for it. And you know what? In this instance, I'm for it because I'm sure that kid was getting taken care of on the side for his time, and fuck it. I mean, good on him for fucking getting a hustle. You know what I'm saying? So, but that kid's been there for years. Now, again, thinking as the corporate part of Shriners, you always knew the day was going to come where, like, Alex starting to kind of be an adult. Losing that kid quality, which is kind of the whole theme of our organization.
We're about to open up a very bad can of worms if we go down that route, D.
um, so for the last 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
I've started noticing a new, younger, far more adorable kid named Caleb. And at first, you would only see commercials with him. Now, again, corporate side makes sense. But part of me was just like, what the fuck happened to like at first you're thinking the worst just because it is a children's hospital. You're like, "Oh no, did it did did death roll the fucking dice on Alec? Did that fucking happen?" He did not. There was no introductory commercial. That's a good question.
Which, from my perspective, keeping Alec as the kid grown up tells way more about your organization in a positive light because the whole point of that organization is to get underprivileged families that can't afford the outrageous medical bills that exist in this world the help they need. Having the grown-up version of that kid would be like that would be mission accomplished, but not like George Bush on the aircraft carrier mission accomplished. It would actually be mission accomplished.
Well, I think that somebody thought that because, like I said, at first we just started straight up getting Caleb. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, the kid's fucking adorable, but you're like, well, what the fuck happened to Alec? Is nobody gonna fucking say anything? Because at the end of the commercial, Caleb's just like, you could still get this adorable blanket, and it's like, you should probably have a blanket with Alec's face on it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't know. That could go either way now that I think about it, but that's besides the point. Um, but like I said, so for like 2 years, it was just straight up Caleb. But I think that somebody on the board started thinking what you were saying. Then we started getting commercials with both Caleb and Alec. Like grown up Alec, still in the wheelchair. But I mean, like, dude's starting to, like he obviously has to shave now. um, and it's just like, it's, I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad to see Alec. But you kind of feel like look, this is fucking awful. Like I'm not saying that they're coming through like this, but you're just like you see Alec and he's like, "Yeah, you can still I'm still adorable." And then they roll out fucking Caleb. And he's got the little fucking sweater vest and the fucking perfect parted hair and he's like the perfect child voice. And then fucking, over the hill fucking Alec. I mean, he's only 16, I believe, at this point, but he looks like he's fucking 40. He's like, I'm still here.
I mean, at at the very least, they didn't like roll out an imposter with a Marlboro Red hanging out of his mouth, like, "Hey, look at all the good here." I will say this, and this is coming from knowing a marketing background. What's that line from Star Wars about you've never met a hive of such scum and villainy before.
Oh, you've never seen a hive of such scum and villainy? Yeah.
Yeah. Marketing rooms can kind of get like that because the whole point is to get your money at the end of the
Mm.
day. And I'm not saying that donating to Shriners is a bad thing. I actually, that is one of
Yeah,
the places
like I
I
said,
donate
nobody's saying anything
to.
bad about
No,
it.
no, no, no. I'm not saying anything bad about them either. They're actually one of my donation things that
Yeah,
whenever
yeah,
I'm
that's
out,
what
I'm
I'm
like,
saying. Like, I've never heard anything bad about it.
um, but you got to get those dollars rolling in, and certain age brackets. It's very Anakin Emperor feel. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
certain age brackets are going to emotionally respond to that as opposed to logically respond to it. So you're over 40s, probably going, and especially if they have kids, definitely going to emotionally respond to it, and that you're going to get donations. Probably 20, 25 and under, you're going to get a similar emotional response from that demographic. More than likely, especially with the newer generation, that probably will. And then you're like me, and you're in the void areas where you're trying to use logic in your donations and stuff like that. Not to put me on some high pedestal here. I'm just giving you a little rundown on it. But I try not to get emotionally attached to stuff like that because that's how you bleed yourself dry. That's
Yeah.
how you're like, I'm going to take my entire savings account and donate to this when realistically, you can't do that. So they figured out a way to play both sides of the fence with what you just told me they did, because they took the old and said, "Look at the good we've done," and brought in the new. It's like, "Oh, we have a new batch of Caleb's coming in that we need to help out." I don't necessarily think that that's a conspiracy theory.
Mm. Yeah, those are I know those situations. I know you're talking about. I'm not saying that that's how they roll, because I've not seen any documentation of that. But I do other big name organizations do shit like that. Yeah.
No,
Um, but
interesting though. I did not
well,
expect us to go down that road.
but it takes one last weird turn.
Okay.
Now I can't confirm anything because obviously, like, I don't think these kids have like social media. I don't think that's how it works. Like, I'm Alec, I'm that dude. I don't think that's
Yeah, I
like
don't see him.
slide
I
into
don't
the
see him
DMs
exploiting them like that.
or roll into them DMs. However they do it. I'm going to hell. Anyway, so lately, because I've been watching so much fucking E Network. And I've been watching the streaming on demand version, obviously, so I can watch all these fucking episodes of this show. They have ungodly commercial breaks. Like, every
Yeah.
commercial break is like 2.5 minutes. It's fucking brutal. They were showing a lot of the new commercials. No Alec. No Caleb. And I thought that was interesting. I'm like, is it over? Like, are we going in another direction? And I did a little investigating. Apparently, uh, apparently Alec has been spotted. Like, we know that Alec is okay.
Okay.
Apparently, there's a big campaign trying to figure out what the fuck happened to Caleb. And nobody thinks the obvious dark answer, which is funny to me because nobody thinks that. And I hope not. Again, I wouldn't humorize that particular angle, but then the theory's gone on like Alec couldn't take it anymore, and he was just like, "Fuck this kid."
So basically, what you're saying is, on a scale of logic, and I'm gonna be topical to
Yeah.
Alex Jones,
Yeah.
everybody's going to this end of the
Yeah.
spectrum with it. When in reality, okay. Do y'all know? Do you know what the I don't know the exact term of it, but do you know what the oh god, not algorithm, the conspiracy formula is?
That like there's like an actual organized, like structuredized formula to make one.
Well, it kind of plays in it. Basically, that you have a original conspirator, and then to get the moving parts done, to get the whatever you're conspiring to do done, you have points of contact, and every point of contact that you add to it, you add into this formula, and basically it gives you a probability of success. So, like,
Mm.
mass government conspiracies are typically low on that, although
Too many people involved.
too many people involved or too much exposure. Too much exposure is actually, I think, one of the more difficult ones because people can keep secrets. But depending on the severity of what it is, that's why
Mm.
we won't go down that road. But you know what? Sometimes when something sounds batshit, it probably is. And then other times, if there is a glimmer to it, you might say that the government might be doing some shady shit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
with that kind of thing, though, because that is such a public exposure, people, logic tells you that one of two things happened. Either the kid didn't agree to it because the parents actually have to sign off to
Yeah.
let them into the commercials if you're under 18, or the dark answer that we don't want to say because that's not funny, but everybody immediately going off to the JFK magic bullet shit. Take a fucking step back.
But it's so much fun though. That's the thing. Because okay, this is the okay. Let me de-monsterify myself with that statement.
No, I didn't think that you were any sort of monster for it because it's a valid thought when you go down that rabbit hole, but
the
not every time.
reason I'm so fascinated by it is because obviously just the few humorous avenues of this story you can go down are humorous to me. But I'm imagining taking this very scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to see like a Tim and Eric style or a Greasy Strangler style movie with this as the premise. That's why I love this so much, and I've thought about it for years.
Isn't that basically the plot of Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell and Napoleon Dynamite himself?
Well, I mean, you could make that stretch.
I'm stone cold sober right now, and I'm willing to make that leap because, I mean, they're two people who exist in the same arena. They kind of don't like each other, but maybe they
specifically people who do commercials for this type of a thing, and it's like kids. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like,
that could get dark really quick.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's the most darkest thing, and you were trying, like, and you're trying to make a humorous. Like, I think the only way you could get away with a comedy with that is if it was like Greasy Strangler or like Tim and Eric style humor, because that's really the only playground that something like that's allowed to play in.
Elijah would pick it up probably, and it would be
Dude,
be good.
Elijah Wood make a great Alec, like the older kid.
Yeah, because Elijah Wood still looks like he's like 20.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, and like I said, these kids aren't mentally have any mental difficulties. So I mean, it's not like you have to have a accent in that particular. We're not doing
No.
that. We're not doing that. That's not what we're saying. But put Elijah Wood in a wheelchair, give him the adorable teddy bear blanket, give him that chip on his shoulder because you got the younger kid coming in. I'm telling you, it would be gold. And I guarantee you, if it was written properly, he would be game for something like that.
Besides the fact that Shriners would probably try to shut that fucker down as
You got to
fast as they
change
could.
all the names,
You got-
everything. You got to make it all fictional shit, obviously.
But you could potentially have something heartwarming, and I know that there are still, I think to this day, people still argue on if it was done in good taste or not. I'm on team good taste, but you could have another The Ringer type scenario with
Liked
it
that
too.
movie.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I'm acting is supposed. All right, Jesus Christ. Acting is supposed to be acting. That's why I kind of have been of the opinion that if someone is supposed to be playing someone with a disability, that's acting. Getting someone who actually has that particular disability into that role, it's not acting. It's you. I honestly feel like at times that's exploiting a person because of their disability to play the character, because you're worried you can't get the better performance out of the actor, which is so fucked up on its own that you even have to kind of stretch that logic to it. But it makes
Yes and
sense.
no.
Yeah,
I have a counterpoint to this because I see what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying. Only if the person who actually has the disability, if they're cognizant enough to understand that of what's going on and they're willing to do it, I think is okay. But you run the risk, the gambit of having an actor portray that, and then you get moments like I wish I could remember the name of the movie, but it's the one with Rosie O'Donnell, and she plays the handicapped person, and she's always riding the bus.
that or
That's
I think
insulting. That to me is more insulting.
well that you're talking from Tropic Thunder. You're talking Simple Jack, basically.
Mm.
Where it was not, where the whole point of that was it wasn't done in good taste, and that was what sunk his character. Yeah, there you have to find a good balance on it, and that's why it's always tricky talking about it, because at the end of the day, when you do a movie and you take on an ambitious project like that, and I love it when they do that. Like The Ringer is an excellent example of doing it right, and then also kind of shedding light on maybe you shouldn't be making the jokes that you're making to the extreme that you're making them, because these are real people. You have to find that balance with it, and it's dangerous. And the worst part about that is, for that ambition, you're never going to be able to appease both sides of that fence. Like I said, I teeter on both of them, although I do lean more to the side of it should be acting and not exploiting someone because of a condition that they have, because at the end of the day, that's fucked up. I mean, that is good God, especially if you underpay them, like, which happens.
I think
all
the
time.
only way that I could safely make the kind of movie that I would want to make with that is that whenever money comes in from the movie, I'm like, you make sure that everybody that needs to get paid gets paid. Like, that's numero uno. Anything that's considered into profit margin, I was just like, donate it to the exact cause that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. But you know what? No studio is ever gonna fucking do that. An independent filmmaker will do that if they get their own independent distribution on it. But I would never. You'll see a portion of the profits will go to. You will never see them flat out. Everybody take their base salary and move on, because someone's pockets are gonna get light, and even though they could write off the entire fucking thing, but.
No.
I'm trying not to piss off corporate America right now, but